Hey, how is everyone this evening? Happy New Year. And now we have a special guest tonight, so I'm really happy about that. So let me see here. How is everyone? Did you have happy holidays, and how did you ring in the new year? And what did you do to, what kind of resolutions did you make? What kind of resolutions did you make about your art? That's going to be a big one tonight, because that is really an important part of this new year, right? We do have a tendency to make resolutions, and those are awesome things. And do you usually stick to them, right? And let's see. I know, excuse me, we don't usually do this. I'm even a minute early. Not as early as I usually am. But hopefully I'll make up for it. I know, excuse me, I'm so sorry, you guys. Let's see. Let me get this off to him. And okay, got it. Okay. Hold on, just one more second. Isn't technology wonderful? Okay. Whew. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate that. Who is here? Happy New Year, Kathleen. Can I promote you to a panelist? Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Where are you at, Kathleen? Oh, Tony, how are you this evening? There you are. I'm going to promote you. Here we go. Awesome. I have to turn on your, I have to unmute you. There you go. How are you? She's in there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I know. She's in the neighborhood now, so she left the cold of the
-6 actual temperature back home today. -25 wind chills.
Oh, aren't you so glad to be in the big AZ?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's see. Let me get Chuck on here too.
Yeah, he's in another room.
He's in another room. Oh, I gotta unmute him. And sweet.
Gotta adjust your.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, we've got a special guest. I think I already told Kathleen who it was earlier, but don't spill the beans yet until our guest gets here. So I kind of got to scope the room, because I was going to send. I'm just a mess. You know how it is when you're juggling 3,000 things all at once. And I'm juggling.
I'd love to ask some of the other artists that are here, and if they don't mind, being promoted so we can talk face to face, that would be great. Someone asked me today, we're having a little work done on the house, and he said, so how did you get to be an artist anyway? I guess I was never asked that question. It was kind of off the wall. Often an artist will get asked, so where did you go to school, or what's your background, or what kind of art do you do, or something. But
Yeah. Actually, you know what? That one came up. That one came up in the last art talk. You guys were on the road.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Mickey, she had asked me if I would share my little story, how I became an artist.
Oh, and I haven't even had a chance. You do post it somewhere so that we can review it, right?
It is posted on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one will be up on YouTube as well. Hey, Tony, how are you? After we get done with the critiques, I'm hoping that you'll hang around because I'd like to get you in on the conversation if you would, because I'd love to hear what it is that you're doing. And oh, our ringer is here. So yeah. Mitch, where are you at, dude? Well, I know he's there somewhere. It says he's there. Okay. Okay. Well, I know he'll be there. That's our ringer, though, you guys. We've got Mitch in the house somewhere. He's actually going to do the critiques this evening, so I'm really excited to hear what he has to say for the people that sent in some images, and that'll be fun to hear. There he is, Mitch.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
You can. Okay.
Hi, Mitch.
Hi. How are you
Hi,
guys?
Mitch.
I'm hooked up to I think my stereo, so I want to make sure you guys can hear me.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Okay. Good. Because I'm using like an audio. What is it? AUX through my stereo, so I'm not sure if it works.
It works.
Okay. Great.
Great.
Am I a little bit early?
You are, but
Okay, that's cool.
that's
Dang, I was just getting signed on and all squared away, so I'm not late.
I know, that's awesome. We really appreciate that. So, you know, we can get started if you want, because I know Mitch is here and he's going to handle these critiques this evening. And I know I had to twist his arm to do it.
Yeah, she had to really twist my arm.
So I know he's got other things to do. So like go out and paint. So
Yeah, hopefully we'll see if I get there tonight.
we hope so, right?
Yeah, we hope so.
So I'm going to get started here on these critiques, and this first one here.
Well, before we go on that, is everybody doing well? Where is everybody? I'm trying to remember.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Everybody sign in and shout out to us where you're at. And Kathleen and Chuck, they're here in the Big AZ. They're over.
Right. I knew you're here.
We're here visiting from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
I was just going to say, yeah, you're from up that way. I just spoke to, what's the Peninsula School of Art up there in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I just spoke to them today. So
It's cold up there today.
yeah, I asked her and I said if there's snow, and they said really no snow. It's just crazy cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So.
-6 at home.
Is that right?
Actual temperatures -6 with -25 wind chills.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Our son still rides his bicycle back and forth to work. Exercise.
On a snowmobile at that temperature.
Yeah. They're all heated seats and heated hand warmers on those now. So people love it when it's that cold.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
So we're gonna start with Monica.
Okay.
Oh, Mickey is here. Hey, Mickey, how are you, girl? She's, I know Mickey's in Florida, so
cool.
I can tell you that that's where she's at.
Okay.
But Monica, are you, oh, she's running a little late. Monica, are you willing to be promoted to a panelist so that we can see and talk to you? And Mitch can give you some feedback on your painting. Would you raise your hand if that's something that you're willing to do, please?
I don't bite.
That is, well, she's here twice. So, Monica. Okay, I haven't heard from her. No, she's here once now. I'm going to turn this over to Mitch. Oh, wait, we've got a question here, Monica. I guess I don't know how to sign in. So, Monica, can you hear me? Are you here? There's over at the bottom of the screen, you can, oh yes, you do hear me. So are you willing to let me promote you? Do you have a camera and a microphone on your computer? We'll give her just another minute. Okay, so I'm going to promote Monica over here and put her on screen with us. See, that's what I love about this technology. I just love this. Hi, Monica. I don't see you. Can
you hear me?
You've got some feedback, but we hear you.
Okay.
I don't see you though. Do you have a camera?
Well, I've got two things going, my PC and my iPad. Let me cut one off.
Okay, that would be good. And that's where the feedback's coming from.
Yes. Okay, do you hear me now?
I can hear you perfect.
Oh gosh, it didn't cut off on the iPad. Just a moment.
Okay. I love technology.
I'm usually fairly good at it, but not with this. I haven't.
This is the part I don't like technology. when you get stuck.
Are you there, Monica? Are you there, Monica? Did we lose you completely, Monica? Hello, Monica. Okay, I'm going to change her role because I see her over here. And let's see if this will work. There you go. Yay. Okay. Now let me turn on your there you go. Awesome. How are you, Monica?
I'm fine, but I hate that I'm on camera tonight. I've been putting up Christmas decorations for 3 days. Oh.
We understand how that one goes.
Yes. Oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up your painting here. And I have to say, it is really beautiful. So, Mitch, I'm going to...
Hi, Monica.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Great. I'm not freezing. I'm in Louisiana.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Very
no ice
warm.
storms, though, huh? Oh, wow. That's nice.
That's a very nice, isn't it?
Yeah. What size are we talking?
It's I think it's 30 by 24. I would have to
Okay.
go back and look at my records.
Okay, that's pretty good size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. First thing I can say is I love the value pattern. If I squint my eyes, I can why this painting is so successful is you really squint your eyes at the image, and it's really just 3 values, right? You have your darks,
Mm-hmm.
your white, and then your kind of halftone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes it have a little impact from when you're standing back, is that I can see right away. My eye goes right to the subject, which is this. Is it a bird? Is it a bird feeder, or is it a?
Well, it's like an obelisk. It has a nest in the bottom and there is a bird, a dark bird in that nest behind the eggs.
Okay.
Okay. And I did not want the bird to overtake. So the painting, I really liked the shadows and the reflections, the ribbon. I'm
Sure.
a ribbon fanatic.
Sure. No, and it totally works. And the reason being is you kept your darks kind of coupled together, that dark bird against the dark peacock feather and the dark nest. It all becomes kind of one big value. So therefore you don't notice why the white of that bird feeder is popping is because look, it's against a dark. It has the highest contrast, has the sharpest edges. I mean, I love how you handled this kind of lower right-hand corner where you've got this white, is it like, it looks like a lace. There's some books and maybe a little lace.
It is.
Okay, and so that is handled so well because look at how soft. My eye passes across it, it doesn't get stuck on it. That's what's so beautiful about that area down there. Keeps my eye, back where the focal point should be, which is on the bird feeder. I also love the handling of the little bird with the cast shadow at the top. Really well handled, and I know that the shadow kind of goes a little bit off the painting. I love that idea because when we look at things in this world, you have to remember we're like looking through a window. So I look at my paintings like I'm looking through a window, and if I can kind of make something go out of the picture frame, I know that viewer wants to go in and kind of see what's on each side of the window, right? We want to peer out that window and look around. So I think that's really strong. I think your color temperature is really nice. I immediately noticed on the left-hand side, on that half-tone background, you've kind of got a pink hue to that background. And then on the right-hand side, you have a little more yellow. So I know those two planes are catching different sources of light. I think your arrangement's good. Like I said, you have this little white cup against the white of the bird feeder. Which again makes a larger shape, right? We're always looking for a larger, bolder pattern. I would say on a couple maybe things on the edges on your, as much as we want the bird feeder to pop, there are areas we could have played a little soft and hard. So like if you look at the left-hand side, kind of like how do I say it? It's the far bar on the left-hand side, right? Of the bird feeder.
Yes.
That one could have been softened a little bit. In fact, I think it would have been fun to kind of see how there's a little shadow behind it. It probably was casting a little bit of a shadow on that back sheet. But I would have played it up a little bit, keyed up that little shadow so that far bar kind of blends and falls into the background. And if you did that, that brings the two in the front even more forward. It pulls them even crisper and even more forward.
Okay.
Same with the ribbon. On the ribbon, I like I like how it comes out of the lower left of the basket and kind of leads your eye almost wants to follow back up around to the bird nest. But along that ribbon, as I move my eye kind of back up into the basket, I find that all the edges on that ribbon are kind of treated the same, right?
Okay.
They all kind of have the same blendiness. Whereas on the right-hand side, where it comes in front of the books, it's got a nice crisp dark, and then it goes lost and found. I think on the lower left-hand side, you could have played that a little more. Okay, so a little more soft, a little more hard, maybe punch a little accent here, because then my eye can identify where that ribbon is kind of setting. Is it in front of, kind of below? I kind of get a little blurry about where that is in the placement.
Right.
On the bird, I think also on the peacock feather, it's handled really well. I love the shape making. I love how each one of those thin lines of feather, none of them are equal. Most people just draw lines right down, right? You want to keep the variety. I don't see any repetition. If I do, they're still separated in different distances, so it doesn't look monotonous. And I love that about it. I still think maybe a few areas you could have softened and played a little bit with the soft and hard within those lines, so they're not so linear. But other than that, I think it's beautifully done. The fact that you were aware of the spaces between them, right, and how they read with a lot of variety.
Right.
Yeah, I think your light source is strong. I think your you maybe could have punched some dark shadows down there on the lower left-hand side where that ribbon was we talked about. Maybe behind that ribbon, that was shadow that falls kind of where the bird feeder sits. there's kind of no real dark to kind of identify the ground plane there. So maybe back behind that left side where you see the shadow behind the ribbon and behind the basket, if you were to punch that a little bit darker, with a really dark accent, I think it would help set down the table and pop the bird feeder forward.
Yes, yes.
But other than that, this is really well rendered, especially for the size of the paintings. It's really well done. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's tighter than the way I want to paint, but
Yeah, and that's another thing, you know, is if you want to loosen up, this is where the play of edges come in, right?
Yeah.
Is we lose and find. The whole thing about looseness is really, yeah, you have your bold brushstroke, but it really comes down to play on soft and hard edges, where you want the viewer to see it, and where you don't want to see it.
Okay.
So when you lose, you find, and you find, you lose, and then it becomes this loose kind of play back and forth.
Okay.
So yeah, great job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, let me go back here. Thank you, Monica, so much. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful painting.
And your beautiful face.
Yes,
Not tonight.
That's right. I'm telling you.
So I'll now change you back to to the viewer status.
See you, Monica.
Bye-bye, Monica. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
That's so cool. I love that.
That was a beautiful painting.
It was, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was really well crafted.
Oh, you know what? I have Collie on here. I'm sorry about that, Collie. Well, I did not mean to have you be in the panelist section. Maybe a little bit later you'd like to. And that was awesome. I just love that so much, Monica. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Is Kay here? Now, we've got a couple of people who haven't shown up, and they're probably going to see the critique after it's posted onto YouTube. Nancy Ging submitted a painting, Echo Point, and I don't think that she is here in the room, but I'd love, oh wait, no. But if you would be so kind as to share your thoughts, I would really appreciate it, so that she can see it later.
Oh,
So
there you are.
this is called Echo Point, and it's Nancy Ging. You should recognize it. It's there in the Northwest, up in the South area.
Is there any way you can zoom in that a little bit?
Yeah, let me enlarge.
Does it actually go up to fit screen maybe? Go up to
Yeah, I can do that.
do that. Just hit fit screen under, I think it's under view. There it is. Fit. Yeah, I might pull it up a little larger. There we go. Now I can see it. Okay. Well, first off, I obviously it's Northwest Day because she's painting under an overcast light, right? It's cool light, warm shadows. She has that down. I can see that there's, a cool light source. The shadows are warm. That is so important on a overcast day. Can't emphasize that enough. Her composition, if I squint, I can see her horizon line is low, which is good. She kind of actually has this kind of S curve with the sky as it comes down the horizon and then curves back around on the shoreline, which I kind of like. I got a nice little S curve. I can see that she's got some nice temperature changes in the sky. She's, looking for the warm and cool. And it almost feels like it's a pastel, but I'm assuming this is oil, or is it pastel?
No, it's a pastel.
It is a pastel. Okay, so it's a whole different medium when you're working pastels, because the idea is you want the kind of under-over colors to mix and let your eye mix them together. I would say a few concerns about the painting is when I squint my eye, you have to remember that the weight of the painting, you have to balance your painting. So when I squint, I feel the painting is so heavily weighted to the left, right, with all those darks. then I think in her background, back there on that far horizon, she could have maybe used another rock out in the water, or maybe even darkened the horizon line just as it meets the border of the painting to help kind of, you know, balance the painting back to the right so it's not so left-hand heavy. And I'm not sure, I mean, assuming that's probably a shoreline on the far back, I'm not sure, but I think by simply, yeah, but regardless, I think if she simplified it, even let's say it was a wave or even fog, or if it is a shoreline in the back, I think if she simplified it, right, broke it down to one larger or a few larger shapes and kept it simple, then her eye is more bound to be attracted to the foreground. I get a little caught up in trying to figure out all those little intricacies in the background. And by simplifying that, it's going to bring the foreground forward, send the background back, okay? And in that larger mass, then she could play, like I said, a little darker along the border or something to help balance the weight that we're talking about. I think that edges is something that maybe she could consider a little bit more. I don't mind the edges where this foreground rock kind of blends into the background rock. I like that she used a cool color kind of back around that, you know, back in the cove there. Can you see around the rock? There's a nice cove where it cools as it goes away, and that allows this foreground mass of rocks to come forward. I like that, and I don't mind that they're the same value. Squint, they almost disappear. That's fine. And that's a nice edge work. I guess the problem that we're seeing with the edges is in this tree line on top of the rocks, right? Everything's treated the same. All the trees are treated, every branch is treated, and it's really treated and manipulated the same way, right? The same brush stroke, the same size shape. There's no variety. So I think if she was to mass, if I squint really far, notice how I squint really far. If you squint really far too, you'll see this kind of large. It's the large tree behind this foreground rock. There's one on top of the foreground rock. There's one back. If I squint, that whole lower thing almost becomes a larger shape, right? You get rid of all those little sky holes. That could have been treated as one big shape, and then maybe a few little sky holes here and there to help the picture, you know, help the tree read. But that isn't what's important. I'm assuming the focal point is this nice middle ground cliff, and where she's got some nice color changes. You know, I see warmer cools in there. So you have to be aware that you have to subordinate these peripherals. So for me, I would have obliterated and simplified all the sky holes, softened those things so that my eye comes back down to where I want the viewer, which is in that middle ground cliff. I think too, this I don't mind this sweeping line, because you get to the bottom of the page, and you know, a lot of times that line of the shoreline can actually sweep you out of the painting, even if it is left or right. But I think it's okay where you come down, your eye takes you back into the painting. I would have maybe played that edge a little bit with some variety, so the waves isn't one big long wave, but maybe a few. So there's a little break up in the shoreline. I think on these logs on the lower left, she could have played some temperature. You're right. There are these kind of gray logs that are waterlogged and aged, but there's still going to be some color in them, right? In the warm, in the undersides, if you've got cool light, she's kind of gone cold black in those shadows, where I would have warmed them up, put some ochre in there, some you know, transparent oxide red, something warm to help that give me a temperature variety in that grouping of logs. But I think it's a pretty good attempt, especially being pastel. You know, you really have to know how to play under over with a pastel. So I guess that would be my critique.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
Can I say something before you take
Sure.
the painting away?
Sure.
I'm not an expert, but I really like how the sky kind of has that inverted S shape with the water at the bottom,
Right.
and the sky goes up. It's an interesting visually kind of thing for me.
It's compositional, as I mentioned to me.
Yeah.
It's a nice compositional line, and you look for those in nature. So, you know, I first said that was a great thing. You've got this nice curve, and it really helps you kind of take your eye through the painting, right? We're always looking for those elements that take you through a painting. So I agree. I think it's a nice element in the work.
I have to say, I love the colors that she's got in the sky. You know, she's got some really beautiful stuff going on there. So that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Nancy, so much for sharing that with us. And let me see here. Is Kay here? Kay, did you make it? Nope, Kay didn't make it, but Kay has got one here that I really like this one. I love her brush strokes on this. So I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
And I will fit it to the screen here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love the brush strokes.
Yeah, can you bump that up? Yeah, a little larger for me. Perfect. Yeah, I think she's using enough pigment too, you know. That's another thing when I'm finding that when you want to look loose, like we talked about early on, that you have to have a play of thick and thin. There has to be this idea that you're really bold in certain areas and more subtle in others. And that goes along not just with your brush stroke, but with the amount of pigment you put down, right? The transparent areas are a little less subtle. The more paint you add to the surface, it can get, you know, much bolder and more confident, looks more confident. And to me, the whiskers, I mean, those to me, it looks like she felt confident when she put them down, right? She had a reason why she put them there, and a strong directional, directional line or directional application to say, hey, this is how it goes, this is how it is. And that can actually translate quite a bit, even if you are a little bit wrong. You know, in a painting, you can still be a little bit wrong, and it helps. I don't think it's some of the Impressionist painters, Manet and some of these guys, they aren't necessarily my favorite draftsmen, but they could put down something and make it look so confident that you don't question whether it was right or wrong. You just knew that that's what he wanted to state. So I think there's a lot of that going on in this painting. I like the kind of the gray purple harmony. I'm a little pulled to this lower left-hand corner with the red. I think she could have toned that quite a bit down or used it a little more in the painting, right? It's such a small accent that my eye goes right to it, and I wish I knew more about what it is. Is it a flower? Is it a pillow? You know, maybe she could have expanded the space on the painting to include that element. I can see that she's using reflected light. She's understanding that red, whatever that is bouncing up into the chin or mouth of the dog, and it's given it that, you know, a bounce light effect, which is good. I see that you know, you almost want to say the painting's pretty centered, but there's a little more space on the right hand side than the left hand side, so that doesn't bother me. It's just off center. I'd be careful though, because sometimes things can get split up evenly. You know, like the top above the dog, the white, the grayness on top of the head, the dark along the eyes, and then the whiskers. Those are all kind of equally spaced. Can you see that? They're like 1, 2, 3, 4. I would have maybe moved the dog up higher, dropped her lower to give a little variety, so we're not breaking the space up equally. Okay. Some of the drawing maybe on the muzzle of the dog could have been refined a little more. I don't mind. I like she's captured the reflected light in the eyes, you know, the glisten in the eye. That's nice. And I love the droopy ears. They're you know, two different shaped triangles and two different sizes. That works well. Edges are okay. I think on the top of the head and maybe the lower right hand side, where it meets against that grayish tone of the dog meets against the gray. She could have lost that completely. Just let it go. If you don't see it, don't paint it. You'll be surprised how much the eye will fill in that information. I can see the source of light is a cool light, warm shadows. I think she could have warmed up a few areas like under the eyes, you know, the eye sockets, that really dark could have been warmer, and that would help that colder blue of the coat of the dog pop out. Other than that, I think that's, yeah, I think it's a fine sketch. Do we know what size it is?
I don't know. No.
I'm guessing maybe 9 by 12 or 10 by 14.
Yeah, the image came in pretty small, so yeah.
Okay.
I blew it up. What you saw earlier was what I had blown it up to be.
Okay. Yeah, because these things can, it's difficult when you work small sometimes because you have to be even more aware of your space, because now everything's you're editing more, and because you're working in a smaller space, I find it sometimes harder to work small with arrangement than I do working large. And you kind of have to sacrifice one for the other. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the brush strokes on this. I think
Yeah, it's she has a little that confidence I was mentioning, that she's really going in quite bold.
Yeah. So Kay, I wish that you were here, but I will email you and let you know that you can see this. It will be posted on YouTube, probably not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but as soon as I can get it up there, I will. It shouldn't take me very long, but I'm juggling a lot of things right now, so I'll get it up as soon as possible. Now we've got another one, and I'm not sure. I think it's Dr. Goodrun is his name, and this one is a watercolor, so interested to hear what you have to say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, let me fill the screen. There we go.
Great. So first off, he's using his watercolors, let's say properly, right? I mean, a lot of artists who use watercolor don't tend to use enough water or enough pigment in their water, and they end up being kind of, I want to say, tight. I mean, the idea of watercolor is you want happy accents, right? You want the watercolor to paint the painting and not necessarily the artist. And in this painting, I mean, I can see that's really what's happening. He let those washes just run and bleed. It looks like he maybe used some salt down the lower left-hand corner to help the water, give you that paper effect. So to me, this truly is a watercolor. It's saying, hey, I got this runny pigment that's running all over the page and giving me these exciting, kind of an exciting movement to the pigment. Okay. In fact, I know from his application that this was all put down and the flowers were put in last, right? There are these, what are they called? The little, I'm assuming they're the guys you used to blow as a kid. What are they called? The dandelion?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but anyway, those they look like they've been either scratched in or used maybe an opaque white, Chinese white that he's put on top. But I love the idea that he's got these warm and cool washes that just kind of bleed. If you really take out the flowers, look at how soft everything is. As an oil painter, I mean, ideally, I'd love to paint oils like watercolors paint watercolor. You want this soft and hard play, and watercolor you can get it because it's such a natural part of the medium is to let things run together, and that's what makes a great watercolor to me. You look at Sargent, yeah, there's some great draftsmanship and great drawing, but boy, he let those washes run, and it's like playing. Watercolor is like looking at somebody playing on paper, and if you can keep that play alive, that's what's fun to me to look at a watercolor. As we get to the painting, I love the idea that he's got these darks. I don't know what they are, but they sure do frame the lights, don't they? I mean, they frame these I don't know which knew the name, the little flower pods. They actually frame them. I mean, without the darks, we wouldn't see them. It's almost like he knew those were going to go in, and he put a dark down behind, so when he came back, that's where my contrast is at. The contrast is on the flower. So I love that about that. I love this treatment of this kind of flower over here on the right-hand side against the border. It's kind of like an ochre color against another ochre. I think that's fun because your eye kind of passes by because of the colors are similar and the values are similar, but there's enough there to stop your eye and go, oh yeah, there's a flower back there. Yeah. I love that effect. Notice the softness on this this lower right-hand pod, how that center of that flower is not really that crisp. It's pretty, that ochre middle is pretty soft. Where your sharps are at are only on the little lines of the pod. Where those little things you blow off. Those are really the only sharp edges in the whole painting. So I love that about it. the color harmony's fine. I think it's the, he's kind of got a triad going. You got the blue and the orange and the green. There's nothing too, there's a compliment there, but it's not screaming at you. So I think the color's nice. As I mentioned, the edges are nice. The drawing's fine. Maybe the drawing on a few things like this flower in between the pods gets a little wiggly woggly. I wish there was a little bit more mass and not so much line. You have so much line in the pods that you want to find something that's non-linear, right? And that's why my eye goes to these patches of washes, because they're not linear. They're shapes, they're masses. And I think if he was to play that flower in between the pods as more a mass, it would help accentuate the linear line of the pod, and that will then, in return, help the mass look like a mass. So, these are design concepts. You want to play the mass with the line and the line with the mass and back and forth. I don't know what size. You have any idea what size it is?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's fun that he's kind of really playing like a watercolor and letting some of the stuff, or most of the stuff, happen by accident, but with some control.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was when I opened it and saw that it was watercolor, I'm going, oh, how lovely, because there's a few watercolorists in our community, and I love that looseness, and the approach to it is just the exact opposite of oil painting. You have to really preserve your lights in
Sure.
the watercolors, because those can get really lost really easily. And I think that he did a really successful job of keeping those. And what is that stuff called? Resistol or something like that?
Did you put down the paper before?
Yeah, it's kind of like
like a rubber cement. You put it down on the paper, and then you're talking about to preserve the whites.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put it down. I think that, I don't know if he used that here. It looks to me like he's used a blade or a fine brush to put down the linear line work. I mean, this painting is more about, say, design than subject matter, right? I mean, you have your subjects. Not like to me, it's not like he's painting these flowers to render them. He's more playing the idea of line and mass. It's like these kind of what's the word, opposites that is a nice play. Ironically, we're talking about watercolorists. My favorite painters, Anders Zorn and John Singer Sargent, they were master watercolorists. So, I look at a lot of the painters that I love and admire were trained as watercolorists and then moved into the oils and were able to kind of translate and use some of those effects and ideas from watercolor into the oil.
Wow. I love. That's what we got tonight, Mitch. But hey,
Okay.
Before you go,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, because after you leave, we're going to be talking about the new year and New Year's resolutions. What do you think is a good, reasonable New Year's resolution for an artist that they can help them make progress in their skills?
I'm laughing because today I had this exact discussion that I haven't really necessarily set down on paper my goals. I think, but what has come up in the discussions with between my wife and I is time management. Getting behind the canvas. So I think if you can commit more time to the craft, that's really how you're going to grow, right? The only way we grow is by painting. So if we can commit and make time to apply the things we're learning, it's going to show up it's going to show up in our work. So for me, this year for me is the idea is to get more time behind the canvas.
There you go. Really, thank you, honest to goodness, for making time, and I really appreciate your expertise and those critiques that you gave were just really awesome.
Yeah, I had fun. I hope you guys did too.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Next time around.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right. How do I get out? Just hit stop?
You go to, well,
You do it or do I do it?
you do it, because
Okay.
I end the meeting. So
Oh, that's right.
if you
Okay.
wanted to hang out, I could put you into a viewer role, but I know you got to get to
I was gonna say I would love to, but I got 3 kids and a dog outside this door that haven't seen me all day. So,
So
anyway, I'll see you guys next time around.
thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, thanks guys. I had fun.
Okay.
Okay,
Awesome.
bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year.
Sweet. So
Very cool.
that was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I love what he said about time management. I was just talking, we're as you know, doing a little work on the house, and one of the guys that I think is kind of wondering when we're going to get to work, he says, so I suppose you have to be really inspired before you can really paint as an artist. And I said, well, no, most professional artists that I know paint whether they're inspired or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what's going into the studio. That's what the training is about, because when you are in art school, you got to show up, and you can't just show up. You've got to be ready to work. So it doesn't matter if you're inspired or not, you got to put the work in, and that's where it is that the skill building comes, is from doing the work. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I see that Tony is here. Anybody else want to come on board? Oh, hey, John, how are you, my friend? Want to come on board and chat a little bit? Tony, are you up to, Nancy. Yes, Nancy, the recording will be available on YouTube. It might not be for a day or so, but it will be available. He gave you a really nice, Mitch was here and he did the critiques, and he gave you a really nice critique on your piece there for the Northwest. I'm so sorry that you are not feeling well, but it will be available. I'll send out an email and let you know when it is available, and we'll see how that one works. So Tony, you're there. Are you willing to be promoted to a panelist there? Okay. So, hey, Tony, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hi there, can everyone hear me?
Yep, here you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
You're in the studio, huh?
Always. I live in here.
So how'd your drawing class go?
Good. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a pretty big group at some guy's house, so I didn't get there early enough, but it was a good group.
Awesome.
The models were very, they took really aggressive poses. It was 2 models and they were almost wrestling. So it was interesting to try and find a good composition out of it.
Was it a long pose or was it?
Well, yeah, it was probably about an hour.
Oh, sweet.
They took breaks in. But yeah, whenever I go to a group drawing class and I don't get there at a good time, it's always kind of you sort of make the best of it, but ideally I would have probably done something different because there's a lot of foreshortening limbs, and so. But other than that, it was good. I met some people who I'll probably draw with again. So.
Oh, awesome! Awesome. The connections are really an awesome thing to make while you're going to groups like that. So good. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. Thanks for
Awesome.
remembering.
So, do you have a New Year's resolution for your art?
Nothing new, but I do have a new sort of, I'd always wondered about a certain level of finish that I wanted to get, and sort of being able to sustain, to make work and sell it at a rate that makes sense. And I talked to another artist and he sort of said, whatever level of finish you want to, be at, to really take the time now to sort of work towards getting better at that. In other words, don't, from when I start to when I get to the point where I feel oh, this is taking too long, I need to move on, he's saying to sort of push through that area, because if you get better at that stuff, you know, next, as you move along, that's how you'll get better overall. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's sort of like, for me, I would get hung up on how long it's taking me at a certain point, and I would sort of lose the joy of it, sort of get hung up on, you know, being anxious about finishing it. But he's just saying, work through that now, because by working through that, you know, you'll get to that point quicker on your next pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. How about you, Chuck? Did you make any New Year's resolution for your art?
Well, my New Year's resolution, not formal resolution, but I have decided that I'm going to refocus on developing my skill levels. I did disassociate with the gallery last year, and for various reasons, and I'm gonna refocus and not worry about the gallery representation and just develop the skill, and I think the rest will come.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. And how about you, Kathleen?
Just get back to work. I had a rough year last year. I was not as productive as I had been in the past.
Yeah,
And
Kathleen's been having some health issues, so that's really affected her, because she's usually in the studio.
Yeah. And my mother-in-law passed away. Chuck's mom passed away, and we traveled back and forth quite a few times last year. So took a little bit out of the work that I was doing, and I need to refocus and totally get back to it, because I'm ready.
Good. Awesome. Anybody else out there have some hard and fast New Year's resolutions that you've made for your art? It would be wonderful to hear what they are, because this is the purpose of these this art talk, is so that we can inspire each other. And John Blank, hey John, it's so good to see you here. He says that his goal this year is to learn. So I love that. That's an awesome concept. Hey, I want to talk also about easels. And the reason I want to talk about easels is because I know Tony has got a killer easel. Yeah. We both have hues, but what's yours? Walnut, right?
Walnut.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned it, because I had an accident with my easel recently. The Hughes easel is amazing. Maybe I should let you explain how amazing it is first. But then I was going to say that even though it fell and got pretty banged up, it was able to be repaired, and it's still just as good because it's built so solidly.
Wow.
How did it fall?
Because I'm a jerk, and I was trying to move it out of the room that I have it in, and I tipped it to clear the doorway because it's too tall. And if you don't know how the easel is set up, it slides on a track. And I didn't think that it would fall off the track as easily as it did, and boy did it fall. And it was pretty traumatic, actually. I actually cried like a child when it did.
Oh,
because it's so expensive, but it's so sturdy and heavy that it was terrible when it happened. But the good news is that the guy who built it, I mean, they're built so well that he sent me a couple of little replacement brackets, and now it's just as good as, you know.
Wow.
awesome.
But it's a really excellent easel. I suggest that I tell everyone who paints or wants to get an easel to save up and get it, because it's the best.
Absolutely. I love my hues. The very first fine artist that I studied with, she had a Hughes, and I mean, I just salivated, you know. So that's my first introduction to painting, and you know, she's got top of the line Hughes, and I'm just going, oh my gosh. And we actually, I think, probably ordered ours about the same time, because we both got them about the same time. And the thing that I find so interesting is that I had a double mast put on mine, and so did you. You know, so I thought that was really interesting as well. So yeah, so anybody out there have an easel that they think is the end all be all? Oh, Nancy gave us an answer here for her New Year's resolution is being more productive. And she missed a couple of opportunities because she didn't have enough inventory. Inventory is something that is, you know, we talk about a lot because having a surplus of paintings that you're able to throw at a gallery or, you know, for a show that you're doing is really important. And that's something that I'd really like to and talk about too. John says that he bought an artistic for the most part. It was for the 360-degree turning. I'm not artuistic. Is that how you say that, John? I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one. But you know what? We have the internet here, so we'll just take a look if I can find it, because that sounds interesting to me, a 360-degree.
I just found it.
Did you?
Yeah, it's like a windmill easel.
Oh.
So basically, it's got like an X shape, and then you can rotate, I guess, all around because it's on like it looks like it's like a tripod with a windmill on it. Looks pretty cool.
Oh, I do see that. So let's see if I can pull up some images. Oh yeah, okay. So I want to share this with everyone so that you can see it. So I did say that right, and artuistic, is that how you say it, John? And let me share my screen here. And so everybody can see what we're talking about.
Cool.
This, yeah, do you see this? That's really kind of interesting, right? And it looks like it's real. Oh, look at this easel. That's pretty interesting. I've never seen anything like that. I think that it's nice and lightweight, and you know, it would be really easily portable. I think it's a pretty cool little easel. Pretty cool little easel. And is there a size restriction that it has on it, John? Do those arms go out forever and ever? So everybody got to see that. That's pretty cool. Is there a size restriction on that, John? He hasn't answered me yet. But anyway, anybody else have the end all be all easel out there? That's a different one. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it's not the end all be all, but Chuck and I both have used the Richardson easels because the Jack Richardson company is not too far from where we live. So we go to the outlet store and we pick up some things, which is kind of nice. And it's for an easel that you're looking for a good quality. They have a wide variety to choose from, and it's well built and it's a good quality, not as expensive as the Hughes. I'd love to have a Hughes easel sometime, but
I lusted after one for a lot of years, so.
But as you know, Kathryn, I have multiple easels because I work in many layers and I like to keep several paintings going at one time. So I love to set up a couple of easels and just be able to work on one thing. And when I've gone as far as I can on that, go and work on something else for a while. Because that's what I do.
Yeah. You usually have several paintings going at once, so yeah, and you like to paint big too, so yeah. So what do you do for inventory? And you know, what makes you feel comfortable? So let's see, the minimum canvas size is 3.5 by 5 inches, so 3.5 by 5. And the maximum is a 45-inch canvas. That's pretty cool, John. That's pretty big. I mean, it can handle quite a bit. Do you find it pretty sturdy too? Is that something that works for you? So back to, while we're waiting for John to answer, back to the inventory. What do you have on hand that makes you feel comfortable?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I have on hand right now some of my older works. I always try to get my newest and best works into the galleries that I'm in. If they haven't sold, I do have some older works that if I am inspired and want to introduce myself to another gallery, I'll take a couple of new paintings and several older ones just to test the waters with a new gallery. May or may not be right to do it that way, but this summer was the first summer that I actually burned some old paintings. It was hard. It was tough to do that, but I had a lot of practice things. Chuck and I do a lot of plein air events, and you can accumulate a lot of small works if they don't all sell at these events. And oftentimes they're really specific to that event. You know, if we go to Cedarburg, Wisconsin, you paint a lot of Cedarburg scenes because that's what sells at the sale. But that's specific to that market. And many of the galleries that I'm in won't appreciate those works because they're not specific to their market.
Right.
Well,
So
by the time we head back to the Midwest after being out here, Kathleen will probably have 10 to 15 paintings to take back.
I hope.
I'll probably have, I paint smaller than she does, so I'll probably have 15 to 20 to take back, and that'll be our beginning inventory because our summer season there is our gallery. Spring and summer is most of our gallery season there. We're just kind of the opposite of Arizona. So, but then we'll paint and we'll continue. But that's kind of our starting point for the season.
How about you, Tony? What makes you?
I'm kind of smiling. I have 3 pieces. I work really slow. I know that I work slowly. So when I hear you guys say you have 20 pieces, that's my dream. I think one day I might have 20 pieces. But one thing that I also have talked to other people about, as far as having a large body of work, at least for galleries, that sometimes you don't want to have a ton. Well, at least I guess for someone who's starting out, if they see that you have a bunch of work that you didn't sell, that might work against you sometimes, depending on the gallery. That's not why I have so few pieces, but that's something that I never really thought of. So my whole goal is to just have whatever I do have be as good as I can make them, and hope that quality will overcompensate for quantity.
Right. And you paint big too, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to paint smaller so that I can do more. I mean, because it's like I was saying earlier, I need to be more realistic in terms of trying to sell stuff. I have to make more of it, so I have to make more. I have to paint more, greater volume. But hard.
You do a high degree of finish too, so that makes a big difference in what you're able to produce, because when you're going for a finish of that quality, there's a lot more time investment in it. So you probably have more of a concept of oh my gosh, my brain just went. Okay. You just have a higher degree of finish. It'll come in a bit. Hey, John says that easel, though it works well for him, he finds it a little lightweight, and that would be my concern with that one, is that sometimes I can get real enthusiastic and I could send it, flying. So
There's another easel that's very similar. It's called the windmill easel, and it's a much hefty, much larger wooden easel. It's sort of the same concept. I don't think it rotates this way. Like it'll twirl around like a windmill, but I don't think it goes back and forth.
Mhm.
But that's more of like a heavy duty easel. I don't know if the guy's still making them, but
well, it's interesting to me how many different concepts there are out there for easels. I mean, you would think that you need to put painting on support, somehow, or a canvas on a support so that you can paint on it. But everybody comes up with just a little bit of a twist, and it's really interesting, and especially in the plein air arena. The plein air easels are just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So many different ones. What do you use, Kathleen?
I use an old French box that I got when I first got to painting, and it has lasted me all these years, and I'm still happy with it.
Awesome.
But I have friends who use the Strata or the Open Box M, or they all swear by their easel, and I drool over them a little bit because mine's so heavy. But I carry everything I need in it, and it works for me. I have a little roller cart that I can put it on, and it works.
Yeah. What do you use, Chuck?
I used Gorilla Box for a number of years, and then I bought some plans and made my own.
Oh, sweet. I think that I bought those same plans. I just never did it. It looked awesome, though. And did you like it? Do you like it?
I like it a lot, because I ended up putting in a glass liner for the palette area, and I used real glass, figured if it breaks, it's easy enough to repair.
Yeah.
But the only thing I miss that with the Gorilla Boxes, I could leave on a 9x12, I could leave that in the box to wet, and with this one, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So but the Gorilla Box was handy because there was room in there for your paints and some various other materials and so forth. Where this, it's the pochade, and so you're carrying a lot more stuff.
Yeah. John just left the room. Thanks for coming, John. Wonderful to see you, my friend. So anybody else out there got any easels, plein air studio that you think is the cat's pajamas? Oh, Tony, you're awesome. Tony put out the link for the windmill easel. So that's cool. Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
sure.
So everybody can take a look at that one. Anybody else got anything tonight? Any plans? Anybody got any plans for plein air events? Are you guys gonna be doing the Door County, Kathleen?
We're definitely doing Cedarburg, I hope. That's a 10-day event. That's the longest event that we participate in. And we'll probably do the one here in Arizona. There's one in February in Glendale.
Sweet, that's not far from you, so good.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We talked about doing one in Indiana, southern Indiana. First Brush of Spring takes place in April. And we've done that one in the past, and it's wonderful. It's a really well-organized event. And the interesting thing about that event, if I can share, is that you paint your paintings, and then at the end of the event, they allow you to display them in the local school gym if you bring your display racks with you. And if you have a study that you've done, it's got to be under a certain amount of time, because when you plein air paint, oftentimes artists will paint a very small study. I think it has to be 8 by 10 or smaller, to get a rough idea of what they're going to do in the larger piece. And then what they'll do is they'll ask you to get it stamped before you leave the event, at the end of the event, on the back of it, which proves that you painted it there that year, and it has the stamp on it. And then you take it home and you repaint it larger from the study. You do a more detailed or more finished painting from the loose study that you did. And next year you take it back and they have a separate event that's part of that First Brush of Spring called Field to Finish. And they put both paintings up side by side to show everyone what was done. And a lot of fun.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how about you, Tony? You got anything going this year?
Just keeping steady on the project that I'm working on. I'm trying to do more live drawing. So part of that drawing group that I went to a couple of weeks ago, I met some of the models that were there. So I actually met with one. He came and I drew from life because I don't do enough live drawing. So that's sort of something I'm trying to do more. Trying to get other artists to sort of help share the cost because models are expensive.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's probably about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm getting ready to move. A week from today, I will be moving to California. So that's the first thing in the immediate future. But yeah, we've got some really great things coming up on the Master Secrets this year. And really excited about that. We're in the midst of a summit right now. So the interviews and the editing and all of that stuff is, taking up a considerable amount of time. But we've got some really great ones. Next week, Ken Backus is going to, his first segment is going to post. And he is awesome. He is not just his art, but his experience and what he's willing to share. His attitude about everything is just really powerful. So I hope that everyone will have an opportunity to really enjoy his interviews. So yeah, there's lots going on. I plan on doing a lot more painting this year. In previous years, the Master Secrets has really taken a big chunk of time, and my painting has had to play second to all the other work. So now that I've got a pretty good workflow down, I plan on spending a lot more time behind the brush. So it's exciting.
You got the easel you gotta use.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, I mean, I love that easel. It is just, it's like the most beautiful piece of furniture, some artists, they're really wipe down everything, make sure that there's no paint on it. Every time I get paint on, I'm just going, oh, goody. More wear, yay! More personality. I love it. So everybody, has their own thing, and that's mine. So
yeah, I'm definitely the opposite. Well, I was for a while. Once it, you can't avoid the edge of it, getting paint on it. But
you can't. For me, it just means that, it's being loved and being used as much as possible. So, I try and keep it contained within, a respectable field, because of the double mast. I take the slider off of the second mast because I put my palette up so that I'm using a parallel palette. We had talked about this, and I just turn it around so that my painting is sandwiched in between them, so that it avoids getting quite so much paint down in the trough. So yeah, so yeah, it's just one of those things. So
Very
I really thank all of you guys, really, Kathleen, Chuck, Tony. I really thank Mitch for taking the time to come in and give the critiques. Those were really powerful critiques. I really enjoyed that. So that was really awesome. And if you got anything else, I'm here. If not,
Thank you, Kathryn. We really appreciate this.
Yeah,
Oh.
thank you, Kathryn.
this is so much fun. You know, I mean, I love hearing what everyone does. I hope eventually, this is my dream, is that everyone will become more acquainted, and that everybody will be promoted to panelists, and we'll just have this little dialogue thing going on where art is what it is that we're talking about. Because I know that there are things out there that artists want to talk about, you know, the kind of tools that we use, the kind of paints that we use, different approaches, different concepts. And the more—
And I love the critiques. I love the critiques a lot. I hope I have a painting done for the next time you do an art chat.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll see if I can bring in another ringer. That would be, that's my goal. So, but I can't guarantee it every time, but it is my goal. So
Very cool.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
I have another question if we have another minute. Just something for people.
We got as much time as you want. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's really a question, but I feel like it's simpler to find, like, if you want to work on your skill level, or like, you know, try out new tools and sort of get, you know, work on that aspect of it. But has anyone come across anything that I don't know, like how you can practice the aesthetic part or the art part of it? I feel like, you know, for me, I'm trying to get better technically, but even if I get better technically, there's still this other aspect of art that's beyond the technical thing. That's the thing that it's so much harder to talk about. And I was just wondering if anyone had like read something or kind of come across something that can sort of, so you can practice the art part. I don't know if that makes sense, but sort of like what exactly makes something, you know, more than just, you know, proper brush handling or, you know, lighting or whatever. All the technical stuff that there's tons of information about that stuff, but there's no way to really sort of, except from just doing work, how do you train the aesthetic art piece? That makes sense?
Yeah. I think that that's a great question, because I think that that's really what we're all trying to do, right? Is create something really beautiful. And how is that beauty invoked into the piece? You know, what makes one piece that two artists can do exactly the same thing, and, you know, one's going to have something in their painting that the other artist just might not, you know. So
like specifically, like for, like, say you're having difficulty with, you know, values or, you know, something like that. Like you can sort of practice work, you know, little like skills towards that end. But this, you know, with art, it's so much more, it's harder to sort of hone in on that without, like, you know, you have to work on, you know, an entire piece, but factoring in time and material and all the other stuff that goes into it. Like, I wish there was a way to kind of, like, if composition was something you struggled with, like a way to play with composition in a more specific way.
So I'm so glad that you're saying this, because I mean, it's like you are my ringer tonight. You are just setting me up just perfect. So that is part of the content this year for the Master Secrets, for the members area, is because all of these things that you're talking about, when you're executing a painting, is really difficult, because there are so many things that we are working on at once, right? It's got to be value, color, temperature, perspective, linear, aerial, there's a lot that edges, there's a lot that goes into the execution of a painting. But if it is broken down, if each concept is broken down to a single understandable lesson, then that can be a skill builder. But when you're executing a huge project, to continually think about, okay, I've got to be doing this, and this, it gets lost. I'm going to focus on this. And then suddenly you're looking at your painting, you're going, oh, I really need to have more color harmony over here, and then suddenly that focus that you were working on kind of becomes subservient. So small lessons is a really great way to simplify those skill building opportunities that you're talking about. So, Nancy said that she wants to make something beautiful that also touches people, and she knows she succeeded once. And she put a link down there to a painting that she did. She said that she can't do it consistently yet. And, even the masters, oh yeah, that's a beautiful piece. Let me share this one. Or even the masters talk about, they have stinkers, I mean, every day is not the same. Every day you're not, knocking it out of the park. And let me see if I can make this. No, can't make it any bigger. Sorry, guys. But it's a little dead bird. So, and I love these little feathers in here. They're nice lead into that little birdie there. Mm-hmm. So, the masters talk about the challenges that they have, and consistently knocking it out of the park just isn't really a possibility, but simplifying a lesson, working on edges. Taking a small painting, Kathleen knows that, I'm big on small paintings. I'm big on small paintings. I just got that. So, I use 6x8s. And the reason that I do that is because it really allows for just that thing that I'm talking about, working on edges, or working on color harmony, or working on drawing, or whatever it is that I'm working on. Those little tiny canvases really make for an incredible opportunity. So, yeah. Let's see here. So, what else you got?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood completely what you were saying, Tony. But for example, if this is what you mean, I struggle with being really tight in my work, and I can get a portrait started and I'll feel really good because I'll block it in fairly quickly, and the drawing is there and the composition is there, and then I start to mess with it, and I get a little bit too stiff and tight, and everything becomes just too much, and then the subject matter becomes stiff and I don't like it anymore. And what I need to do is loosen up. So I took a great big brush at the last time I painted, and I just painted an entire 9x12 painting with a great big brush that forced me to not have any tightness to it. And it helped a lot. I don't want to paint with a brush that big on a great big canvas, but I think it opened my eyes a little bit to just trying to try new things and see what I could do to force myself to do something that's different for me.
No, I think that's exactly right, because you honed in on something that you felt was an issue, and then you worked on that specific issue. So I think that's great. I think that's exactly what you should do. I'm also more curious. I'm most curious about how to sort of develop the stuff that's not necessarily a technically based thing, in terms of like subject matter, or how to present certain subject matter, or just other ways to sort of work on that aspect of it, aside from doing each piece.
There's a great book. If it's design that you're thinking about, not composition, design, designing the elements, because composition is the way that things are set up. The design are the elements that are within the composition, right? So there's a great book, Andrew Loomis, doggone it, Andrew Loomis. I know, I see you doing your work there.
Right? Okay, the cartoonist or the illustrator?
Yeah, Andrew Loomis book.
I think he looks like he's done a few.
Creative illustration. Is that the one? I don't think that's one. Andrew Loomis. Let's see, what is that one?
I guess my thing is more abstract. Maybe this isn't the right forum for it. But I guess to me, like, especially now, I don't know how involved everyone is with like Instagram or just social media in general, but the volume of art that we can now see, like any one person can have access to literally just like an endless stream of artwork. And if you're trying to make a career out of it, it's for some reason, for me, it seems more daunting than ever to sort of like break in, because you're seeing such a huge volume of work that's already out there, and the access to art and to seeing images is like, it's so easy. I wouldn't say we're inundated with it, but like you can see a lot of art. So when you try and think of like, okay, what's going to be my offering into this world, into this context, I'm trying to be a little bit more strategic about, because I feel like there's so many different paths you can go down. You can focus on figurative work, you can do, you know what I mean? There's just all this, there's just so much. I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed with how much is out there, and like, what do I want to present? Like I have the stuff that I like, but from like a career point of view and from like a selling point of view, like I don't say I'm a dime a dozen, but there's just a lot of people who are doing the same kind of stuff. And how do you find a way to sort of,
I highly encourage you to listen to Ken Backus when those interviews post. Exactly what you're talking about. It'll be the second week, the second part 2 of his interview, that what you're talking about is really addressed in a really powerful way. Because one of the things that we talked about in his interview was 2008. There are so many artists that say 2008 was a real game changer as far as art goes, and that the sales dropped off for the big guys. And I love the mentality and the approach that Ken Backus has, because when he started seeing that there were challenges happening with sales, he changed up. And part of his mentality came from having been a professional illustrator and having to deliver a product for a specific customer or a specific client on a deadline, and having to create for that purpose. And he's brought that mentality to fine art. And so he, okay, this isn't selling. So what do I need to do to create interest in my work? So the thing that he said that he did was he started painting from different vantage points. He started focusing in on different aspects of the subject matter. There's one painting that he does that is just off the charts. I love it. It looks like, to me, it looks like a haystack rock in Oregon, but it's not haystack rock that's its focus. It's the fingers, and it's not the waves. It's the fingers, the foamy fingers of the end of the wave. And it is just beautiful, captivating, because of the lines that he uses to just weave you in and out. So it's not that historical marker of haystack rock. It's not the traditional wave. He took it a different way. And so when sometimes it's thinking differently rather than allowing that thought, oh, things are not going well, and allowing yourself to be consumed by that, looking for opportunities to think outside of the box. So that is going to be a really powerful interview for you, I think, Tony. And I really like his positive spin. I got to say that probably of most artists that I know, he is just really very, very positive, and I really like that a lot. So.
Yeah, it's hard to stay positive sometimes in a world where you feel like you're surrounded by so many artists, and how do you stand out? And I think that's a question that all of us have and want to address. And it would be interesting to get a little more in depth with that, because we just recently are, getting rid of some things that were in my mother-in-law's estate, and she had beautiful, beautiful antiques, and she was so proud of them. And an appraiser came in and he said, people just don't want antiques. They're not being raised to appreciate them. The young people aren't being raised to appreciate the value of the antiques. And my heart sank a little bit, because I thought, well, is this the direction that the art market is going to take someday? And then I thought, no, it's not. Absolutely not. Art is a completely different thing.
Well,
and even the older antique paintings are still getting enormous amounts of money.
Well, everything is cyclical. Everything has an ebb and a flow. In the early 1900s, you could have bought a Bouguereau for hundreds of dollars. You can't touch a Bouguereau now for millions. So it's cyclical, I mean, there are ebbs and flows. And just like with the antiques that you have in your home, if you hold on to them, the value will again soar. But it might take,
maybe not in my lifetime.
It might not be your lifetime, but there will be a soaring to it. Monica wants to know if it's the Andrew Loomis figure drawing for all it's worth. No, it is. I think it's creative illustration. It is a big book, and it really talks about design, and it is a book that is, I think that every artist should have it on on their shelf. I do. It's in a box somewhere. You know, otherwise I just go pick it up and share it with you. But it's a really good book, and I think it's creative illustration, and it just really talks about you know, the power of design, what makes for a good design, and I highly recommend it. You can, there is a, you can go and download creative illustration. There's a couple of places that you can get the PDF. So I highly recommend it. And Monica, I know the one that you're talking about because I have several Andrew Loomis books, and they are really good and powerful, and that's just not the one that I was talking about, but he does have a great figure drawing. I happen to love the one that he has on heads. The women that he draws are just, he just makes them so beautiful. It's just incredible. So anything Andrew Loomis is really good in my book. So awesome, you guys. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you.
No, hey, you know, I'm here. I still got wine left, you know, so I'm good. I'm golden, you know. But I don't want to keep you all, so thank you so much for being here, and I will get this posted just as soon as I can.
Thank you, Kathryn.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for being willing to be on the panel, and Tony, thank you so much for being willing to be on the panel too. It's powerful to hear what you guys think, you know, and to hear your experiences, and I really thank you so much for sharing them with all of us.
Cool. Thanks for setting it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you guys
Bye,
soon.
everybody.